Harlem wasn't the only Renaissance. It had a powerful sister movement rising from the ashes of the Great Migration, blooming amid the steel and soot of Chicago. Here, in the city's south side, the rhythm of trains and the hum of factories set the pulse for a cultural awakening. The birth of Chicago's Black Renaissance is a story of resilience and creativity, where poets, painters, musicians, and thinkers forged a new identity. This was not merely imitation of Harlem's shining light, but a distinct, fierce expression of black urban life, a renaissance that spoke in the language of streetcars, jazz clubs, and the unyielding spirit of those who dared to dream beyond the constraints of segregation and economic hardship. It is a story of a city finding its voice, and a people reclaiming their narrative. In the early decades of the 20th century, Chicago becomes a beacon for thousands fleeing the violence and disenfranchisement of the Jim Crow South. The Great Migration is more than a movement of bodies. It is a migration of hope, ambition, and cultural wealth. Entire families embark on journeys northward, carrying with them traditions rooted in the rural South, but also the yearning for new possibilities. Chicago's South Side, with its crowded neighborhoods like Bronzeville, becomes a crucible for change. Here, the collision of old and new, oppression and opportunity, carves out a fertile ground for artists and intellectuals to challenge the status quo and articulate a fresh, urgent vision of black life in America. As the city's population swells, so too does the demand for spaces where black culture can thrive. The South Side is home to vibrant jazz clubs like the Sunset Cafe, where the sounds of Louis Armstrong and Earl Hines weave through the smoky air. But beyond music, a literary movement begins to take shape, led by voices who refuse to be silenced. Writers such as Richard Wright, Gwendolyn Brooks, and Margaret Walker emerge, their words capturing the complexities of urban black experience with stark honesty and poetic grace. Through their work, the streets of Chicago become pages upon which stories of struggle, hope, and identity are etched, stories that resonate far beyond the city limits. The Chicago Defender, a powerful black newspaper founded in 1905, serves as both a catalyst and a megaphone for this burgeoning renaissance. Its pages carry not just news, but a vision, a call to action for black Chicagoans and migrants alike. The Defender celebrates black achievements, exposes injustices, and fosters dialogue. It is a lifeline for those navigating the uncertainties of urban life, a platform for writers and artists who would otherwise be marginalized. In this way, the newspaper helps to knit together the community, sparking conversations that ripple through neighborhoods and into the wider world. It becomes clear that Chicago is not just a destination, but a birthplace of a new cultural consciousness. Alongside literature and journalism, visual arts flourish in Bronzeville's studios and galleries. Artists like Archibald Motley and Charles White capture the vibrancy and complexity of black urban life in vivid color and striking form. Their paintings reject the stereotypes imposed by a racist society, instead offering dignified, multi-dimensional portrayals of black men, women, and children. Through their brushstrokes, they document the joys and sorrows of their communities, the crowded tenements, the lively street scenes, the quiet moments of reflection. These images become visual poems, testaments to a people reclaiming their humanity and asserting their place in the American narrative. The heartbeat of Chicago's Black Renaissance is also found in its music, a rich tapestry woven from blues, jazz, and gospel. The city's clubs and halls reverberate with the sounds of innovation and tradition entwined. Figures like Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith bring the raw emotion of the blues to urban audiences, their voices echoing the pain and resilience of a displaced people. Meanwhile, the emergence of Chicago jazz, distinct from its New Orleans roots, infuses the city with a new rhythm, a syncopation that mirrors the hustle and bustle of urban life. Music becomes both escape and resistance, a language through which the community expresses its deepest truth. Education and intellectual life pulse through the veins of this Renaissance as well. Institutions like the University of Chicago and the Southside Community Art Center become hubs for critical thought and artistic innovation. Black scholars, activists, and creators gather to challenge prevailing narratives and imagine new futures. The Chicago Black Renaissance is not merely cultural, it is political. It is a response to systemic racism, a demand for equality, and a celebration of Black excellence. The minds and hearts of this movement engage in dialogues that ripple into the civil rights struggles to come, planting seeds that will blossom decades later. The tension between hope and hardship is palpable throughout this era. Segregation and economic disparity cast long shadows over the vibrant neighborhoods. Housing discrimination confines Black families to overcrowded and under-resourced districts. Yet, within these constraints, a fierce creativity blossoms. The shared experience of adversity forges bonds that power the Renaissance. It is a community that, despite systemic barriers, refuses to be defined by them. Instead, it channels its frustrations into art and activism, illuminating the contradictions of American society and asserting a vision of a more just and inclusive future. The Chicago Black Renaissance also nurtures a unique literary voice, one that blends vernacular speech with formal experimentation, that captures the cadence of daily life alongside profound philosophical inquiry. Writers like Richard Wright expose the brutal realities of racism with unflinching clarity, while Gwendolyn Brooks, the city's first African-American poet laureate, explores themes of identity, motherhood, and social justice with lyrical precision. Their work challenges readers to confront uncomfortable truths and to recognize the humanity behind the headlines. Through literature, the Black Renaissance invites all Americans into a conversation about race, place, and possibility. This movement's influence extends beyond the written word and fine arts. It shapes fashion, theater, and public discourse. The vibrancy of Bronzeville spills into parades and gatherings, where music and dance become forms of communal celebration and resistance. The Chicago Black Renaissance builds bridges connecting artists and audiences across racial and economic divides, even as the city grapples with segregation. It is a cultural renaissance that insists on visibility and agency, a declaration that Black life is not peripheral, but central to the American story. In this assertion, it lays groundwork for future generations to stand taller and speak louder. As the 1940s give way to a new era, the echoes of Chicago's Black Renaissance continue to resonate. Though the movement's peak is often overshadowed by Harlem's more famous counterpart, its legacy endures in the cultural fabric of the city and the nation. The artists, writers, and musicians who shaped this Renaissance paved the way for the civil rights movement and the ongoing struggle for equality. Their courage and creativity remind us that cultural revolutions often arise not from moments of ease, but from the crucible of challenge and change. Chicago's Black Renaissance is a testament to the power of art to transform communities and to imagine a better world. Today, Bronzeville stands as a living monument to this extraordinary era, a neighborhood where echoes of jazz, poetry, and visual art still resonate in murals and music halls. The stories born in its streets continue to inspire new generations of artists and activists, reminding us that the fight for dignity and representation is ongoing. The birth of Chicago's Black Renaissance is a chapter in American history that calls us to listen closely, to honor the voices that rose in defiance and hope, and to recognize the enduring power of culture to shape identity and change the world. It is a renaissance that continues, vibrant and alive. In the grand tapestry of American history, Chicago's Black Renaissance is a radiant thread, woven through with the complexity of struggle and the beauty of expression. And the beauty of expression. It is a story of a city and its people who refused to be invisible, who claimed their space in the cultural landscape with fierce pride. As we look back, we see not just a movement confined to the past, but a living legacy, a wellspring of creativity and courage that challenges us still. The birth of Chicago's Black Renaissance invites us to remember that from the depths of adversity, art and hope can rise, forever altering the contours of our shared story. This has been Roots Renaissance. See you in the next chapter.